let's take a look at how to use some of the alignment tools in Photoshop to really work with elements on something like a poster to make them line up and work evenly, and in basically a really simplified version of the grid system. So there's lots of really good tutorials out there on how to design with a grid and on the grid, but in my experience, throwing all that at a beginner is a little bit overwhelming. So let me just show you a few tricks. Now, one of the things humans like to see, and the brains are built to see and want to see, are things to be lined up evenly. And if something is almost lined up but not quite lined up, it makes the viewer uncomfortable but not really sure why they don't like looking at what they're looking at. So here I've got a whole bunch of different odds and ends. I've got kind of a ball graphic going on. I have some filler copy that is just sized so that it'll work on a poster. And I have my things sized the way I want the attention to be drawn to them. So the very first thing I want somebody to look at is the main information of what the advertisement is, or the poster is advertising. So here's my main event. And then the date that it is, which is the next most important thing. And I should probably put, yeah, if it was something that had a specific time, that would be right after that. Then there's a blurb about, that would be about what it is. There's a contact information, and then maybe another little blurb telling a little bit more information, since we've got 11 by 17 inches, and this is very minimal, I know, but this is just to give you an idea. So one of the things we could do is look at left aligning a lot of this to make it all even. So I'm going to click on my ruler and drag out a guideline and just drop it for a second, and then make sure that my Snap to option is turned on by going up to View and choosing Snap and making sure that that check mark is on. That'll help things so that they move to match up to my grid. So first off, I'm going to grab my objects and move them up so that they are lining up to that one grid line. Now, guideline, not grid line, guideline. And I'm going to make an exception for my website because I want to basically create a pattern that everything is going to be lined up to the left. And by breaking that pattern, I can bring specific attention to one little detail. But now that this stuff is lined up to the left, it's a little more easy on the eye. So if I hide my guideline, oh, and that scooched over a little bit. If I hide my guideline, this looks organized. It looks like there's some structure to it. And these three pieces that are by each other would look a little weird if they were just a little bit off. So I'm going to just move things a tiny bit off and you can see what I mean. So yeah, they're there, but there's not much structure. By having objects that are close to each other, especially if it's text, lining up down at least one side, it will make them read a lot better. Now I could take this a step further by choosing my text box and deciding that I wanted everything to also line up down the other side of the word event. Now as I've moved my guideline out, I'm not actually able to line it up where I want to because that snap feature is trying to make it go somewhere else. So I could turn that off by going back up to the view and choosing snap to make that check mark disappear. And then if I hold down Command, I can move it again. So right there on the T. Alright, so I'm going to size my font down just a tiny bit and Command T to transform it so it's there exactly. And then this box of text, I can size the box so that it fits that area, and then go to my paragraph panel and check, let's check unhyphenate, and then choose the force justify and then the align left, or justify last left is what it's called. Sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't, because what it'll do is take the words and spread them out so that they must line up. So if you have really weird gaps like this, you might want to play a little with the font size to see if you can fill those in, because those are harder to read if they're filled in. If I did this and then moved my website.com so that it was flush there on the right side, it would work really, really great. And maybe even this do the same thing. I can tell a little bit about my website. So I'm going to change the alignment of the text. So I'm going to click on the right align since I've got it. I don't really want this to be the same box going over this way. And it's associated with the website.com, so I'm moving it a little closer to there. And then on last of all, this little graphic I want to actually be by my website.com. I can hide my guidelines by hitting Command H. So this event has a very obvious title and a date and then information. So my eye's natural line to follow is to come down this way and then hit that graphic. Now if I wanted to make double sure that this stuff was actually all aligned, what I can do is choose those layers in either my layers box or grab my move tool and click and drag while holding the command key down to select them. And I want to take these, let's actually do all of these because all of them line up along this right edge, and then choose that option from up in the alignment. And you have to have your move tool for these alignment options to show up, and click the one that has two boxes against a line on the right. So the reason it just popped over is I actually had this graphic selected, which I didn't realize that I had selected. So I'm going to undo and select those items again, and this time make sure that that's not selected. So I can see that layer right there. I'm going to hold Command and click on it so it's not included in that. And then once again hit my align right. And those tweak just a tiny bit, so now they are perfectly aligned along that line. Now that's for either right or left alignment. If I wanted these things to be centered one to another, I could even change my lineup in the paragraph panel, the text alignment to be center. And just to show these moving a lot, I'm going to stagger them so you can see how this changes. Okay, I'm going to select all of them and again make sure that that big graphic's not part of the chunk, and then look up at my options and choose the one that has a vertical line down the center because I want these to line up along the centers, and click that, and all of a sudden they are lined up. So using a line is a great way to make your event poster or whatever it is you're designing have a little bit more order to it and be easier on the eyes. Just as kind of an FYI, a couple other things that I did do for this is I deliberately picked a complementary color scheme, which means that the colors are opposite each other on the color wheel. Blue and orange are very exciting colors together. They generate a lot of energy. And the white on top of the blue is a fresh color. And I had to be careful picking my blue because if I lighten it too much, that text will not be very readable. And if I darken it too much, the oranges start vibrating, meaning they look uncomfortable to my eye. Or if I even go too far, then it starts going into that green here, and if I'm using my my marquee tool. So I did fiddle around a little bit to try and find a blue that I really liked and I felt made the white stand out and be readable. I also used uneven element designs, or designs of elements of design. There we go, that's what I was looking for. So for example, my circles is a repeating theme, so having a repeating theme is a good thing. Instead of having multiple different looks like a square, a circle, and a triangle, I've repeated a similar object, and the eye likes that. Your brain likes to see things repeated, and it follows patterns really well. So I have repeated those. I've used an odd number, which also is something that your brain likes to see. It understands visual balance very well, and having an odd number of things for some reason is more appealing. And then I've repeated the brightest color in, again, an uneven amount of times. So I've got bright yellow 1, 2, and 3 times. Also with this poster, I used a very easy to read type. Keep in mind that the poster's purpose is to be readable, and not only readable, but quickly readable. So it needs to grab your attention and inform you all really, really quickly. There's a couple other ways we could arrange this poster with its information, so I'll just do that now. I'm going to do a little bit of a different look. And I haven't actually set this one up yet before, so be patient with me if I try a couple of different things. So instead of aligning all of my pieces, I'm going to align just some of them. And this is comfortable to look at because we're used to seeing things like Word documents with a kind of a, number 1 here, and then everything else is indented. So I'm playing with the idea of actually putting a picture inside of this circle and maybe scooching that yellow one to the back. Let me grab a picture real quick off the internet and I'll pop an image in there. And I'm just telling you right now, I'm randomly grabbing a picture, so I'm not even sure who this is going to be yet. Oh, this looks fun. We'll get this one. Oh, maybe. Here we go. Found it. Copy image. Sorry for the wait. To paste an image into the circle without having to cut out something custom, you can select an area and then use the command, I think it's Command Option Shift V, will paste an image into something with a layer mask, and then you can size it so that it fits. So I picked a photo that looked synergetic. It's possible that this could be a quote from whoever's in the photo. It would serve a purpose. My website, I could even move down here. I'm not really comfortable with these all not lining up though, so I think I'll leave that over here with the rest. So this is just to throw an idea at you that there's multiple ways you can set up for a poster. Just if you have elements that are close to each other and share flat edges, you should probably align those together. And also if I had, let's say I had a rectangle picture in here, I would want to do the same thing. So if I had a rectangle photo, if I had a rectangle tool, that might make it a little easier. Rectangle photo. I'm just going to use a white box to show you. This would need to line up with the other things too. It would look really weird if I placed it over here or over here kind of randomly. So I would line it up so that it met the sides of whatever my type was from one side to the other. And this one I'm going to return it to the Justify with left last, and then grab my website, which ended up being in the middle of everything, and maybe move that down here so that I kind of have a couple different spots for information. And I don't like the way that P is sitting right on top of the picture. That creates tension. It's a, oh, I forget the word right now. But if there was a photo in here, that would sit really, really well, and it follows, your line of attention follows down through all of this. So this is just an example, but you can see how you can use different alignment tools to pull things together a little bit. Anyway, have fun with that, mess around a little bit, see what works for you, and if you have any questions, you can pop me off an email, and I will answer them as soon as I can.